Hi everyone. I'm Doris from Susan's family. Today, I'm bringing you a new design, the Silk Road series, Casablanca Patchwork Blanket. The digital pattern is available at en.susudiy.com. This blanket includes motifs, joining the motifs together, and edging. First, crochet all the motifs, then join the motifs together. Finally, crochet the border along the outer edge. There are 4 types of motifs. Here, we divide them into Motif 1, Motif 2, Motif 3, and Motif 4. First, crochet Motif 1. Use the magic ring method. Crochet in rounds counterclockwise from the starting point. You will need to change colors during the process. Several crochet stitches will be applied. They are all marked on the chart. I won't list them all here. Now, please watch me demonstrate the specific crochet method. Start with a magic ring. After completing the starting point, crochet the first round. Chain 3 to start. These 3 chains count as 1 double crochet. Then, crochet 11 double crochets into the center hole of the magic ring. Including the turning chain. Here, we have already crocheted 12 double crochets. Next, close the ring. Then, crochet 1 slip stitch into the top of the starting chain to connect. That is, the V-shaped loop, on the right side of the first double crochet. Pick up 2 loops and crochet. Pull tight. This completes the first round. Since the next round requires a color change, crochet 1 chain to secure. Leave about 5 centimeters of yarn tail, and cut the yarn. Now, crochet the second round. Take the corresponding yarn. Make a slip knot with the yarn tail. Hold the yarn with your left hand. Insert the hook into the position of the starting chain from the previous round. Draw the loop through. Slightly adjust the loop size. Chain 3 to start. These 3 chains count as 1 double crochet. Place all 3 yarn tails above the hook. Weave in the ends as you go along. Next, work a double crochet increase in the next stitch on the left. The left stitch might be a bit puckered due to the slip stitch. Make sure not to skip any stitches. A double crochet increase means working 2 double crochets into the same stitch. One, 2. The double crochet increase is completed. Then, work a DC3-in-1 in the next adjacent stitch. That means working 3 double crochets into the same position. 1, 2, 3. The DC3-in-1 is completed. Continue alternating between double crochet increases and DC3-in-1 all the way down. Keep going until you finish this round. When you're done, join with a slip stitch to the 3rd chain of the starting chain. Pull tight. This completes the 2nd round. The yarn tail from the previous round has been hidden. If there's any excess, trim the excess part. Now, work the 3rd round. Start with 3 chains as the beginning chain. Then, work a double crochet increase in the next stitch on the left. Continue alternating between 1 double crochet and 1 double crochet increase. Work all the way around this round. When you're done, join with a slip stitch to the 3rd chain of the beginning chain. Pull tight. The 3rd round is complete. Everyone, continue following the chart to finish the 4th round. Move on to the 5th round. Start with 3 chains as the beginning chain. Then, work an incomplete double crochet in the next stitch on the left. Yarn over. Insert the hook. Yarn over. Draw the yarn through. Yarn over again. Draw through the first 2 loops. This is an incomplete double crochet. Next, work another incomplete double crochet in the adjacent stitch. Yarn over and draw through all the loops on the hook. Then, work 3 chains. Next, make 1 slip stitch in each of the next 2 stitches on the left side. Note that the slip stitches are represented by solid oval symbols. This means the slip stitches do not need to be tightened. Then, work 3 more chains. Then, work a double crochet 3 stitches together. First, in the next 3 stitches on the left side, work an incomplete double crochet in each stitch. Then, yarn over, and draw through all the loops on the hook. The double crochet 3 stitches together is now complete. Next, work 3 chains. Make 1 slip stitch in each of the next 2 stitches on the left side. Then, work 3 more chains. Next, work another double crochet 3 stitches together. Continue working around the entire round. After completing the last 3 chains, join with a slip stitch to the first stitch. Pull tight. Work 1 chain to secure. Leave about 5 centimeters and cut the yarn. This completes the 5th round. Move on to the 6th round. Insert the hook into the first stitch of the previous round. Draw the loop through. Slightly adjust the loop size. Make 1 beginning chain. Work 1 single crochet in the same position. Pay attention to weaving in the yarn tail. Next, pick up the back loops of the next 3 chains on the left. Work 1 slip stitch in each. The next stitch is a front post treble crochet, 5 wraps. Yarn over 5 times. Then, on the right side of the fabric, insert the hook from the right side of the first beginning chain. Come out on the left side. That is, pick up the beginning chain on the right side. Then yarn over. Draw the yarn through. Follow by yarn over again. Pull through the next 2 loops. Repeat 6 times. The front post treble crochet, 5 wraps, is completed. The height of the completed front post treble crochet, 5 wraps, should align with the slip stitch on the right side, and make sure the fabric doesn't curl. If it's not tall enough, you can slightly enlarge the loops on the hook while crocheting. Then pick up the half loops of the next 3 chain stitches on the left, and make 1 slip stitch in each. Next, make 1 single crochet in the left stitch. Continue to pick up the left chain stitches and make slip stitches. After completing, crochet 5 front post treble crochets, 5 wraps. Wrap the yarn around the hook 5 times. Pick up the first round's beginning chain on the right side of the fabric and make a long stitch. Yarn over and draw through. Then yarn over again. Draw through the first 2 loops. Another front post treble crochet is done. Pay attention to the height after completing, and make sure the fabric doesn't curl. Everyone continue to finish this round. After completing, join with a slip stitch to the first single crochet. Pull tight. Cut the yarn. This is what it looks like after completing the 6th round. Now we'll work on the 7th round. Below the cut yarn position, join the yarn to any 2 strands from the 5th round. Then chain 6. Next, pick up the DC3 tog from the left side of the 5th round. Work a slip stitch into the next 2 strands. Chain 6 again. For this round, you will be picking up from the 5th round. Work a slip stitch into the next 2 strands after the DC3 tog. Chain 6 as a transition between the slip stitches. Continue working on this round until it's completed. After chaining 6, work a slip stitch at the joining position. This completes the 7th round. Next, we'll work on the 8th round. First, adjust the starting position. Transition by working a slip stitch. Insert the hook into the left chain space. Make 1 slip stitch. This adjusts the yarn tail to the corresponding position. Then, work 2 chains as the beginning chain. These 2 chains count as 1/2 double crochet. Next, work 1 double crochet in the same space below. Then, work 1 treble crochet, yarn over twice. Insert the hook, yarn over. Draw the yarn through. There are 4 loops on the hook. Then, yarn over on after another. Pull through the first 2 loops. Repeat 3 times. Once. Twice. 3 times. 1 treble crochet is complete. Next, work 1 double treble crochet. Yarn over 3 times. Insert the hook. Yarn over. Draw the yarn through. Then, yarn over on after another. Pull through the first 2 loops. Repeat 4 times. 1 double treble crochet is complete. Next, work 1 treble crochet. Then, work 1 double crochet in the same hole, and 1/2 double crochet. In this round, you will work the stitches into the chain spaces from the previous round. Work these stitch patterns. Everyone, continue to finish this round. After completing the last half double crochet, join with a slip stitch into the beginning chain. Tighten. Cut the yarn. The 8th round is complete. Now, work the 9th round. Join the yarn at the double crochet stitch, on the left side of where you cut the yarn. Make 3 chains to start. Then, work 1 double crochet increase in the next stitch on the left. Next, work 1 treble crochet in the adjacent stitch. Then, work 1 chain 3 picket. First, make 3 chains. Then, pick up the strand of the treble crochet closest to you, and the strand on the left. Work 1 slip stitch. The chain 3 picket is complete. Next, work 1 more treble crochet in the same stitch below. Then, work 1 double crochet increase in the next stitch on the left. Next, work 1 double crochet in the adjacent stitch. Then, work 1 double crochet decrease. In the next 2 half double crochet stitches on the left, work 1 incomplete double crochet in each. Then, yarn over, and draw through all the loops on the hook. The double crochet decrease is complete. In the next 2 stitches on the left, work 1 double crochet, and 1 double crochet increase. Then, work 1 treble crochet in the adjacent stitch. Next, work a picket of 3 chain stitches. First, work 3 chain stitches. Then, pick up 2 strands here and work 1 slip stitch. The picket of 3 chain stitches is complete. Next, work 1 treble crochet in the same stitch below. Then, work 1 double crochet increase and 1 double crochet. Next, work 1 double crochet decrease. A1, round 9, motif 1. Everyone, continue to finish this round. After completing the last double crochet decrease, join with a slip stitch to the beginning chain. Pull tight. Cut the yarn. That completes round 9. Next, work round 10. First, pick up the second stitch from the right side of the beginning chain in round 8. Join the yarn to the back 2 strands. That is, this double crochet position. Then, work 5 chain stitches. Next, pick up the double crochet on the left side of the beginning chain in round 8. Work 1 slip stitch into the back 2 strands. Then, work 4 chain stitches. Next, pick up the back 2 strands behind the 4th stitch on the left. That is, this double crochet position. Work 1 slip stitch. Then, work 5 chain stitches. Next, pick up the back strand behind the 3rd stitch on the left. Work a slip stitch. Then, work 4 chain stitches. In this round, pick up the back strands behind the double crochets in round 8. Work 1 slip stitch into each, alternate between 5 chain stitches and 4 chain stitches between the slip stitches. Everyone complete this round. After completing the last 4 chain stitches, work 1 slip stitch at the joining position to connect. Pull tight. This completes round 10. Next, work round 11. Make 1 beginning chain. Then, in the left chain space, work 1 single crochet, 1 half double crochet, 1 double crochet, 1 treble crochet, 1 double crochet, 1 half double crochet, and 1 single crochet. After completing these, work 4 chain stitches. Then, in the second space on the left, work another group of this stitch pattern. After completing it, work 4 chain stitches. In this round, you will work this stitch pattern in the spaces from the previous round where there are 5 chain stitches. Between each group, work 4 chain stitches as a transition, and below, skip the spaces with 4 chain stitches. Continue working this round all the way through. After completing the last 4 chain stitches, Join with a slip stitch to the first single crochet, pull tight. Cut the yarn. This completes the 11th round. Now, work the 12th round. Join the yarn in any treble crochet stitch from the previous round. Make 3 chain stitches as a beginning chain. These 3 chain stitches count as 1 double crochet, then, work 2 more double crochets in the same position. Including the beginning chain, you have now worked 3 double crochets. Enlarge the loop on the crochet hook. Remove the crochet hook. Insert the hook into the 3rd chain of the beginning chain. Then insert it into the loop that was left. Draw the loop through. As you draw through, push your finger forward. This will make the completed stitch stand out. Then, make 1 chain stitch to secure. This completes 1 popcorn stitch with 3 double crochets. Since we started with a beginning chain, the crochet technique here is a bit special. Next, chain 2 for a transition. Then, in the same position below, make another popcorn stitch with 3 double crochets. First, work 3 double crochets. After completing them, leave the loop. Insert the hook into the first stitch. Draw the loop through. Pay attention to pushing your finger forward. Then, make 1 chain stitch to secure. Another popcorn stitch with 3 double crochets is completed. Chain 2 for a transition. In the same stitch, make another popcorn stitch with 3 double crochets. After completing it, chain 1 to secure. Leave about 5 centimeters and cut the yarn. We consider all the stitches here as one group of the pattern. This round involves making one such group of the pattern. In each treble crochet stitch from the previous round. Everyone, refer to this demonstration. Continue working this round until it is complete. This completes the 12th round. Now, work the 13th round. At the break point of the 11th round, join the yarn in the half double crochet stitch on the left. Make 3 chains to start. Then, work 1 double crochet in the left stitch. Next, in the space between the popcorn stitches above, work 2 single crochets. After completing them, work 1 double crochet in each of the next 3 stitches of the 11th round. Then, work 1 double crochet decrease. The double crochet decrease is worked over the next 2 single crochet stitches of the 11th round. After completing the decrease, work 1 double crochet in the same stitch. Then, work 1 double crochet in each of the next 2 stitches on the left. Next, in the space between the popcorn stitches, work 2 single crochets. Everyone, continue working this round until it is complete. When you encounter yarn tails, weave in the ends as you go along. When completed, join with a slip stitch to the beginning chain. Pull tight. The 13th round is done. Now, let's work the 14th round. For this round, we will use 2 colors of yarn. We'll call the current yarn color 1. Start with color 1. Make 3 chains to start. Then, work 1 double crochet into each of the next 7 stitches on the left side. Work 1 double crochet into each of the next 7 stitches. When working the 7th double crochet, switch colors. First, work an incomplete double crochet. Then, pick up the other color of yarn. We'll call this color 2. Hold color 2 with your left hand. Leave about 5 centimeters at the front. Pinch it behind the fabric. Yarn over. Hook out with color 2. The color change is complete. Tighten both yarn tails. Work 1 treble crochet. Then, work 5 chain stitches. While working the chain stitches, keep both yarn tails above the hook. Work them through as you go. Once the 5 chain stitches are completed, pick up from the same position below and work 1 treble crochet. You also need to switch colors while working this stitch. First, work an incomplete treble crochet. That means hook until there are 2 loops left on the hook. Then, hold the yarn with color 1 in your left hand. Yarn over. Hook out. The color change is complete. Next, work 8 double crochets with color 1. Pay attention to wrap the other yarn tail as you work. Similarly, when working the last stitch, work an incomplete stitch to switch colors. Then, using color 2, work 1 treble crochet into the hole of the picket stitch from the 9th round. Work 1 treble crochet. Then, work 5 chain stitches. When working the chain stitches, make sure to carry color 1 along. Then, work another treble crochet in the same hole. Work an incomplete stitch to switch colors. Everyone, continue following this method. Work all the way around this round. For the last treble crochet, switch colors as well. Then, using color 1, join with a slip stitch. Pull tight. This completes the 14th round. Leave about 5 centimeters of color 2 and cut the yarn. Then, tie a knot with color 1 on the wrong side and secure it. Move on to the 15th round. Make 3 chains to start. Work 1 double crochet into the 2nd stitch from the hook on the left side. Then, work 1 double crochet into each of the next 2 adjacent stitches. Next, work 1 double crochet decrease. First, work 2 incomplete double crochets. When working this stitch, you also need to change colors. Pick up the corresponding yarn. We will call this color 3. Draw color 3 through. Then, work 7 double crochets into the left chain space. Pay attention to weaving in the yarn tail here. Change colors when working the 7th stitch. Then, skip the next 2 stitches. Start from the 3rd stitch on the left side. First, work 1 double crochet decrease. Then, work 2 double crochets. Next, work 1 double crochet decrease. Pay attention to changing colors. Continue to finish this round. The last stitch position also needs to change colors. Then, join with a slip stitch to the first double crochet stitch. Pull tight. Round 15 is completed. Now, start round 16. Make 3 chains to start. Then, in the next 3 stitches on the left side, work 1 incomplete double crochet each. Next, hold the yarn with your left hand, and wrap the yarn 3 times. Yarn over and draw through all loops once. Then, work 1 double crochet increase and 2 double crochets. Pay attention when working the last double crochet, you need to switch to color 4. Then, work 1 DC 3-in-1. Switch colors when working the third stitch. Then, finish a few stitches with color 3. Switch to color 1 at the position of the last stitch. Then, using color 1, work 1 DC4 tog. First, in the next 4 stitches on the left side, work 1 incomplete double crochet each. Then, hold the yarn with your left hand, and wrap the yarn 3 times. Yarn over and draw through all loops once. Everyone continue to finish this round. Pay attention while crocheting. Weave in the remaining yarn tails. After the last stitch is completed, use color 1 to join with a slip stitch. You won't need color 1 anymore after this. Crochet a chain stitch to secure. Leave about 5 centimeters and cut the yarn. Move on to round 17. Insert the hook into the first stitch of the previous round. Hold the yarn with your left hand. Yarn over and draw through. Then, work 1 slip stitch into the left stitch. Make 3 chains to start. Work 1 double crochet into the same stitch. Pay attention to incorporating the yarn tail. Then, work 1 double crochet into each of the next 3 stitches on the left. Switch to color 4 when working the third stitch. Work 1 double crochet. When you have 2 loops left, insert color 5. Then, work 1 5DC popcorn stitch with color 5. First, work 5 double crochets into the left stitch. Then, pull the loop through the first stitch. Secure with a chain stitch. When working this chain stitch, switch to color 4. Then, work a double crochet with color 4. Pay attention to changing colors. Then, work 4 double crochets with color 3. No need to incorporate color 4 here. After completing, make 3 chains to start. Turn the workpiece counterclockwise. These 3 chains count as 1 double crochet. They correspond to the last double crochet here. Then, start from the second stitch on the left. And work 3 double crochets in sequence. No need to wrap the yarn tail. Then, switch colors. Work a double crochet 3 stitches together with color 4. In the left stitch, work an incomplete double crochet. Then, pick the position for the popcorn stitch. And work an incomplete double crochet. Next, work an incomplete double crochet in the adjacent stitch. Then, switch to color 3, yarn over, and pull through. Then, work 5 double crochets. The yarn tail doesn't need to be wrapped for now. For the 5th stitch, pick up the beginning chain and crochet. After completing, make 3 chains to start. Turn the workpiece counterclockwise. Then, work 2 double crochets and 2 treble crochets in sequence. Pay attention to starting from the second stitch. When you encounter the yarn tail, start wrapping the yarn tail. Then, work a treble crochet increase in the left stitch. That means working 2 treble crochets in the same stitch. Then, work 2 treble crochets and 2 double crochets in sequence. After completing, make 3 chains. Then, in the same insertion point of this double crochet, work 1 slip stitch. Then, make 3 chains. Work 1 slip stitch in the bottom double crochet stitch. Then, make 3 chains. Work 1 slip stitch in the next stitch below. We will start from here. Start with the stitch where you work a double crochet 3 stitches together. End with the last slip stitch. Consider this as one group. In round 17, you need to work 12 groups of this pattern. I'll demonstrate one more group. First, work 1 slip stitch in the left stitch. Then, work 1 slip stitch in the adjacent stitch. Next, make 3 chains to start. Work 1 double crochet in the same position. Then, work 3 double crochets in sequence. Pay attention to the color change. Then, work 1 double crochet. You also need to change colors. Next, work a 5 double crochets popcorn stitch. First, work 5 double crochets. Then, draw the loop through the first stitch. Switch colors and work a chain to secure. Then, work 1 double crochet. Pay attention to the color change. Then, work 4 double crochets. Don't wrap color 4 for now. After completing, make 3 chains to start. Turn the workpiece counterclockwise. Don't wrap color 5 for now. Start from the second to last stitch position. Work 3 double crochets in sequence. Switch colors. Work a double crochet 3 stitches together. Then, work 5 double crochets. Don't wrap the yarn tail for now. After completing, make 3 chains to start. Then turn the work piece. Work 2 double crochets and 2 treble crochets in sequence. When you encounter the yarn tail, be sure to incorporate it. Next, work a treble crochet increase on the left side. Then work 2 treble crochets and 2 double crochets. After completing, work 3 chains. Make 1 slip stitch in the chain below. Then work 3 more chains. Make 1 slip stitch in the stitch below. Continue to work 3 chains. Make 1 slip stitch in the stitch below. This completes the second group. Everyone continue following this demonstration. Complete the remaining 10 groups. After finishing the last group, make 1 slip stitch at the joining position. Then leave about 5 centimeters and cut the yarn. Leave all the yarn tails about 5 centimeters and trim them. This completes round 17. Now, work round 18. At any group of the 17th round, join the yarn at the position of the first row's beginning chain. Make 1 beginning chain. Then, work 3 single crochets in this beginning chain position. Next, work 3 single crochets in the position of the left double crochet. After completing that, work 3 single crochets in the adjacent beginning chain position. Then, work 1 single crochet in each of the 3 stitches on the left. After completing that, move to the second row of the 17th round. Work 2 single crochets in the stitch where the DC3 tog is located. Slightly enlarge the loop. Keep the fabric flat. After completing that, make a CH1 picket. First, make 1 chain. Then, pick up 2 loops here and make 1 slip stitch. The CH1 picket is completed. Next, work 2 single crochets in the same stitch below. After completing that, work 1 single crochet in each of the 3 stitches on the far left. Then, work 9 single crochets in the chain spaces on this side. After completing that, the next stitch is a decrease using front post triple treble crochets. First, work 2 incomplete front post triple treble crochets. Yarn over 4 times. Insert the hook into the treble crochet from the 14th round on the right side. Pull the yarn through. Then, yarn over again. Draw through the first 2 loops. Repeat this 4 times. Pay attention to slightly enlarge the loop. Keep the fabric flat. Now you should have 2 loops left on the hook. This is an incomplete front post triple treble crochet. Now work the second one. Yarn over 4 times. Insert the hook into the treble crochet from the 14th round on the left side. Yarn over. Pull the yarn through. Then yarn over on after another. Draw through the first 2 loops. Repeat this 4 times. This is the second incomplete front post triple treble crochet. Then yarn over, and draw through all 3 loops on the hook. The decrease of the front post triple treble crochet is complete. We will start from the first single crochet and end at this front post decrease. Consider this as one group. This round consists of repeating this stitch pattern. I'll demonstrate another group. First, pick up 9 single crochets on the right side of round 17. Then, work 1 single crochet into each of the next 3 stitches on the left side. After completing that, work 2 single crochets into the DC3 tog stitch in round 17. Slightly enlarge the loop. Then, work a CH1 picket, chain 1 picket. Next, work 2 single crochets in the same position below. Then, work 1 single crochet into each of the next 3 stitches on the far left. Next, work 9 single crochets on the left side of round 17. After completing that, work a decrease using 4 front post triple treble crochets, FP4TR. First, work 2 incomplete 4 front post triple treble crochets, FP4TR. Then, yarn over, draw through all the loops on the hook. That completes another decrease using 4 front post triple treble crochets, FP4TR. This completes the second group. Continue to finish the remaining groups. After completing the last group, join with a slip stitch to the first single crochet. Pull tight. Cut the yarn. This completes round 18.